What's up, guys? It's March 1st. It's about, oh, I missed my turn. It rerouted me. But it's about 11 o'clock. Me and Mr. Chris, we're headed up to, we're up here around Coleman, Alabama. We're meeting up with Mr. Mike Perry. He's the one that shot the big 195-inch public land deer on Black Warrior this year with his muzzleloader. And we're gonna get to hear about this deer, his story, hear about some other deer, and get to put our hands on this buck. But we're excited about it. What you got to say, Mr. Chris?
Looking forward to getting our hands on this big Alabama whitetail, y'all. You don't get 195s every day down here in Dixie, but he got one this year and we're going to check him out. Stay tuned.
Yes, sir. On the road.
Like the home of a big buck slayer.
Yes, sir.
Cool. So this is considered Vinemont, Alabama.
Vinemont, Alabama.
I wonder how long of a drive he's got before he can hit the management area over there.
I don't know.
We're gonna find out, right?
Come on in.
Hey.
How you doing?
Hey.
What's up, puppy?
Come here, Poochie.
Old Poochie.
We were sitting down in another room. I didn't hear it. Y'all come on in.
We appreciate y'all having us.
That's right. Oh man, he got all kind of stuff in there. Like black bears.
I told you he had a trophy room.
Yeah, big bucks, all kind of stuff.
What's up? Hell yeah. How are you? Good. Nice to meet you, Mr. Mike.
I'm Chris.
Mike Perry, how
Good
you
to
doing?
see you, buddy. Wow.
You got a freaking spread in here. Yeah, we do. Lord.
You have been around. You didn't shoot those in Alabama, I know. Is that Alaska or Canada, or where's that from? The brown bears, grizzly
Two
bears.
big brown bears is Alaska, the grizzly bears Arctic Circle, Alaska, and that black bear on the end is Alaska too. These black bears are Canada. That's her black bear from Canada right there.
Wow. What province? Same province?
New
or-
Brunswick,
Okay,
yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, man.
The moose is New Brunswick. So Canada.
Awesome.
But all the deer from here around is all Alabama public land. That mares my dad's raised big ones.
Wow.
Then you got public land Wyoming back in that corner, back there, the mule deer and the pronghorns.
Heck yeah, we was talking about mule deer driving up here, man. Some nice muleys, buddy.
Just about everything.
Yeah. Heck yeah. Wow, that's impressive, dude.
Appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's a big bear there.
Yeah, that one's, he green. They rough guard him is right at Boone and Crockett, but his skull was messed up. I shot him in the head, but he was a whopper. So
Who did all this taxidermy for you, man?
most of it's Alabama guy, local guy, Coleman.
Okay. They done a good job on it.
Yeah. Well, that guy from Coleman, he's done these three. He's done the moose. The moose is beautiful. That's one of the
Yes, sir.
coolest mount got to me.
Where'd you kill them out?
New Brunswick, Canada.
Okay.
With 30-06. Then that mountain lion back there, he done it too, and it's awesome too.
Where's the mountain lion from?
It's from New Mexico. I done that last January.
Okay,
That's
cool.
the cat in your profile picture, isn't it? On Facebook?
Probably.
Did y'all run them with dogs?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, it snowed. It was about a foot of snow, -5. It was something else. That was the hardest one.
That's something I'd like to do, and it's getting more expensive and harder to do every day, y'all.
That's a big deer right there.
Killed
too.
that
That's
with a bow, and then 3 days later killed this one with a gun. So, yeah, it was a good.
Well, you kind of did the same thing this year, muzzleloader. Then you shot another deer with a rifle, didn't
Oh,
you?
it was muzzleloader. I carried muzzleloader all year.
Or did you?
Yeah.
But that was like a week later, wasn't it?
Probably. Let's see. No, it was a month later.
A month later.
Yeah.
He shot two good deer this year.
I passed up one bigger that I should have shot. The one the 10th one I shot, I was going to try to let him go if I knew who it was, but I shot him accidentally anyway. But so I passed up one I thought was bigger. So he's still a pretty good digger, 3.5-year-old.
So the Alabama muzzleloader hunt, is that when y'all's rut's hitting up here pretty much?
Black
Or?
Warrior is, yeah.
Okay.
The first conception dates that they have documented is like November 13th. So from Halloween on, it's pretty hot. You know, it can be. You know, it can be where you don't see anything. It's there because there's not as many deer there, but there's some nice ones. So.
Obviously. Obviously. So what is it that you think helps this ground produce giant deer like that year after year? I know you just mentioned the weather and the wet summer and spring and the mild winters, but is there something in the ground? Is it the soil or the feed? Or?
Genetics, and there's not as many deer. Genetics, and another thing, it's a hard access area, so they can hide. Them big boys, whenever the pressure comes on, just say deer take pressure where it's squirrel hunters, you know, horse riders, hikers, whatever, and them big boys, they just get somewhere where they ain't pressured, and chances you're gonna see them as mainly the rut. So you got to be there during the rut pretty much. To me, it's hard to get on them before that because they just stay nocturnal most of the time, or they somewhere where if you try to get in there, you'll run them out.
Can't get to them.
That's how they get old and big, man. They don't get big by being stupid.
195.
Come on
Is that
with
him
it.
up there on the?
He's on the table back there.
I ain't gonna spoil it yet.
Gotta get a little peek, man.
As much as I want to go grab.
Go grab it, baby, Marky.
Oh man.
And that is your biggest buck to date, Mike?
Yeah.
Biggest buck to date, man.
That's the biggest one.
That's impressive, guys.
Yeah, yeah, I would like to have a bigger one, but yeah.
Dude. Look at that.
Times for days, dude.
Coming
How
up
long are those
35.
beams, buddy?
They were 25, right at 25.
Wow.
So,
Got a
You got a
paddle.
hand.
Got a paddle off the front like a moose.
G2, 14 inches, one 14. So.
Both of them split.
What age do you think that deer was,
They
man?
aged him at 6.5. So Bob's did.
Interesting.
So he's pretty mature, and he was like that. I guess I got pictures of him last season, but he wasn't like that because the season before he was like that. Had a bunch of stickers and stuff, but it was in March. The last time I had a picture of him, and he was skinny. He looked like he was about going to die.
Oh no.
And I showed up some biology and stuff, and so we couldn't really tell what was wrong with him, but he made it through. But he
Think you just run down from the rut or
it's
what?
possible. He was running around with 3 or 4 other bucks, and they done showed their horns, and he still had his. We got some pictures over there that shows it. And the next year he was big, like a 160 nearly, and only had like 1 or 2 splits, but you can still tell it's him with the frame. And then this year, you know, which I didn't have any pictures of him that I knew of until after I killed him. And then we checked the camera, like I said the other day, that hadn't been checked since July. And they had a daylight picture of him in late September.
That's
Come
cool.
walking, so, yeah. So.
Was he still in velvet then,
Oh,
or
it's a hard
already
horn.
shed? Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
it's a hard horn, so.
Yeah, that's a dandy, man. I love all those knots and stuff all around his bases and all that stuff too.
It's amazing. He's been sparring, which he was traveling with the buddy, but he was sparring around with something to break his little old tits off. It's kind of
Mm-hmm.
weird. So.
Where'd you have it?
Looked like that one was broke off too.
Mhm.
Little
Stuck in
kicker
it.
there.
I didn't know you put it there.
I tell you what.
He's got about everything you want.
Yeah.
Good gosh.
If it had a drop tine and a bigger spread, which he's unreal anyway, but, you know.
I know he's
it's
got.
just a 15 and something, 15 and a quarter inch and stuff.
Let's see how skinny.
Oh, yes, ma'am. Now we see him a lot of times in the rut. They'll get, really, really run down. It's amazing they can bounce back. I mean, he almost looks sickly there, don't he?
That was in March. So.
And still got his rack
Two seasons
too.
ago. That was
Okay,
March
2
last
seasons
year,
ago.
yeah.
Okay.
So still had his rack, and that was last fall, winter time. And of course, that was this year. That was on October 17th, and then she's got one in hand. for
Yeah, this
September.
is one we just got.
Oh, cool. Man, that is awesome,
Yeah,
y'all.
Freaking man of a deer.
We was hoping to find these last year's sheds.
Right.
That's what we was looking for. We was trying to-
We
That
walked
picture
and
right
walked and
there?
walked.
That picture right there, when I saw that one of him on the cart, that's the one where I was like, good gosh. See, I didn't know this, and we're kind of jumping the gun on some of this stuff, but me and you were friends on Facebook before I really knew who you were, and then I saw where you had posted, you didn't post a picture the
No,
first
I
time.
apologize. Yeah,
You said giant Alabama public land muzzleloader deer down.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I'm ready to see this. And then I saw it and I was like, he wasn't freaking lying. That's a giant.
So you also shoot a CVA, or that's what you killed him
Yeah,
with?
CVA Optima LR. Stainless, she bought it for me for Christmas a couple of years
Heck yeah.
prior.
What bullets do you like to shoot out of that joker?
Barnes.
Barnes, yeah. That's a good one, man.
145 grains, just solid, it looked like a hollow point, just solid copper with an open tip. So
Okay.
not the same ones I use for a rifle. I started hand loading them I tried them out for the bears because the guy, whenever I went to shoot that Arctic grizzly, he was gonna let me use a 30-06, but he wanted me to try specific bullets, and I started in barns, shot a pig and another deer with it. So I just started.
Y'all got
using
pigs
them.
way up here too?
Oh, yeah, we got a lot.
They're all over at home, y'all. They're out of control.
Yeah. She
Out of control.
probably killed almost 10 pigs, and I've killed close to 20, I guess, just deer hunting.
Yeah, we've gotten some of those traps, and we've been trapping a bunch of them. They just keep coming, though, man. It's amazing. It's amazing.
I hate them.
You videoed about 10 yesterday, wasn't
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I walked up on a bunch of them yesterday. Didn't have any
Oh,
good
Steve, he scored
I
a
saw
bunch
that.
of
I
big
saw
ones,
that on
man.
Facebook.
it? And I tell him, don't go in the woods without your gun.
That's right.
Hey, that's when you're gonna see something to shoot,
That's right.
guaranteed.
Every time.
If I'm in the woods, I usually carry something with me I can fire a bullet from. Man, this is an impressive trophy room, y'all.
sure
You've
is.
been all over, bud. This is pretty cool. Pretty cool.
All right, guys, welcome back to the Outdoors, Buckmasters Outdoors podcast. I'm your host, Rhett Holland. I'm here with Mr. Michael Perry. Mr. Mike, he shot the big 195 in Alabama this year on public with his muzzleloader, and we finally made it up here to see you. How you doing, Mr. Mike?
I'm great. Good to see y'all.
Good to see you. Thank you for having us.
Really appreciate it.
Man, it is impressive to see this deer in person.
Yeah.
Good gosh almighty.
He's something else.
Yeah, no doubt. He's, like we were talking about earlier, he's got about everything you want in one. And the fact that you killed him on public here in Alabama is just beyond, it's almost unbelievable. It's a giant.
He's something else, and to do it with a muzzleloader, it was, dreams come true.
Absolutely. Hey, it's like you just said, the stars aligned, but they aligned. They sure did. Well, hey, let's get right into it. First off, I'd like to, find out a little bit more about you. How'd you get started in the outdoors, and what started that fire? What lit that fire for you?
Ever since I was little, my dad was always involved in something outdoor wise. They started out duck hunting, commercial fishing, rabbit hunting, and then it went on into deer hunting and trapping. And I followed them around when I was little doing a bunch of the stuff, but I didn't really get to deer hunting till later. So, but I've always been doing something in the outdoors. When I was a teenager, I was trapping a lot because just to make gas money and stuff like that, and squirrel hunting and a little bit of duck hunting, a lot of fishing and stuff like that. So, but deer hunting didn't really come on until a little bit later with my dad and them. They would go around doing a lot of primitive weapons hunts on different mammoth deer that had the doe hunts where the only way you could shoot a doe or a deer basically was with a muzzleloader on them primitive weapon hunts. They would carry us to them, and you got put where they wanted you to hunt. So that's how I kind of got into deer hunting. And then later on, we started seeing some people killing some bigger deer, and then that kind of changed my mindset a little bit.
How old were you when y'all first started hunting deer?
I was in my teens when I started going some, but I never killed anything until I went in the Navy when I was 17. Stayed in there for 5 years. Went hunting a couple of times while I was in the Navy. And never killed anything. We'll see something every now and then. Never seen an antler until I was in my 20s. Around 1988, the first buck or so that I killed, spikes and stuff like that. But the first good deer I didn't kill until I was 31. So first decent rack buck, 9 point at Wolf Creek man there. And that kind of got my fire going a little bit. And then my brother killed a 180 oak Mogi, a big old non-typical too, and that really changed things. Then we heard about record book, and then wow, you can kill something now. We should put it in a record book. So that gave me another goal. So it took me a little while, but yeah, from then on I kind of started changing my mindset on passing younger bucks to an extent. So
Right.
back then, you could kill a buck a day, so if it was legal, so we done a lot of that because we was meat hunting. So
Right.
So now I got a goal of 3.5-year-old or older, generally on public land. So pass up some of the smaller ones, but that's the goal now. So
That's what happens when you let them grow. When you let them grow, they can possibly get like that.
they can, but a good thing I didn't see him. A buddy of mine coming to camp when we got him out, and he's seen it. And he said, "Man, I'm glad you didn't shoot him last year, because we had him on camera and stuff,
Right.
and that would have been." I said, "I'd have shot him if I'd have seen him."
No doubt.
But
No doubt. So you said your brother killed a big 180. What'd you say? 186.
180 and the eighth.
180 and 8th
Yeah.
on public land here.
Oh,
Tell us about some of your other Alabama public land accomplishments throughout the years.
I've got another one that the first big one I killed was at Black Warrior, 158 and 8th, big old mainframe 9-point with a sticker, just a big 13-inch G2, awesome buck with a rifle. And I think 2005, and then a couple years ago I killed a 141 and something with a bow, 21.5-inch inside spread, he's a big old tank too, with a bow. And boy, that was one of my main goals, to try to get one Pope and Young with a bow on public land.
Right.
It took a long time. I've had some heartbreaks. You know, I shot at one several years ago with a bow that was probably 160s and hit a twig right before it got to it, and that hurt. They're just so hard to get within bow range.
That's right.
A mature buck, but a couple of years ago I was able to do that. So this year I'd come up with a goal to carry my muzzleloader all year, trying to get one record book with a muzzleloader. And I had this guy on camera, you know, for 3 years, and was going to concentrate on him on any of the gun hunts. I was going to carry my muzzleloader, and then on the archery hunts, I bought a crossbow specifically for this guy. When the leaves got off, that way it would be, you know, easier to try to get on him, because I was hoping he's going to be 180s this year, so if I could see him. So but anyway, I never hunted him not one time with the crossbow, because I was going. What camera pictures I had of him in the daylight was in November, so I didn't. But one of the things I preach to people I talk to is, I don't want the deer to know that I'm hunting him.
Right.
Period. So they're so nocturnal, and they don't like pressure, so I'm not going to mess with him until I think the time is right. So I was going to wait till November, and they had a muzzleloader hunt that started November 1st, and I was working days them first 4 days of it. So there was 1 day left, November 5th. We had a camper and got it set up, and we went. I dropped her off, and I went November 5th, and the first morning that I got to take him, he come by. He had a younger, like a 3-year-old buck, that big body but didn't have a real big rack, come sneaking by me at 20-something yards, and I let him go on by, and it was kind of odd. This year it was like green later. There was a bunch of green stuff around. It was so a deer could get by you quick, and that other one got by pretty fast. And about 10 minutes later, something caught my eye, and I looked, and he had already come past me parallel, because I like setting up parallel with a trail where the tree is kind of a cover. So I knew that we're kind of using this shelf coming from a creek crossing. So anyway, he done got past me a little bit, and by the time I got eased around, he was behind a tree, and he stopped, and all I could see was his rear end, and he stood there forever. I don't know if he had sixth sense or something going on or what, but he stood forever. I couldn't see his head, what he was doing. I had seen the initial, this left side to start with, knew it was big, but wasn't sure if it was this deer, but I knew he was going to be getting shot at. So, but he stepped out, and as soon as he stepped out, I squeezed off, and I seen the tail go up in the scope, and a few seconds later, I heard it crash, and I was going to give him ire. If I don't see him die, I'm giving him ire, you know, just to give him time. And like I say, Kathy was up on the top of a mountain about a half mile from me, so I told her I'd be to her around 11, or I would hunt till 11, then go to her, and it'd take me about 12 to get to her. But so I was going to give him an ire. Well, at about 30 minutes, I had the peas. I had pea bottle and stuff, and I'd done that, and I was going to go and eat stuff in my backpack, and I forgot about that pea bottle and knocked it off and made a name bunch of rackets. So, well, crap, I done made all this much noise. I'll ease down and see if I could find blood, and got down there, couldn't find blood, and I went where I thought he went, and off his point, and got down there, and I couldn't see anything, no blood. So I come back, started doing a little bit of gritting, and walked up on blood, good blood, and he only went like 40 yards, but there's a beech tree about that big around. He'd run into that, knocked bark off it, and I guess he broke one of his tips was broke off, and then maybe a little bit of the hand on the other sides, but he was piled up dead past that beech tree, and boy, I seen that side sticking up. Tears started coming out. It was that was a
surreal moment,
surreal, because he was a whopper, and I got up there, and then you could see all the mass and all the stickers and stuff, and it's just overwhelmed with seeing something that big in Alabama, and his humongous body, his neck was just, I forget what, I wrote down the measurements and stuff, but he was huge. So. And,
he definitely doesn't look like an Alabama deer.
No, he was,
even body-wise and everything, those pictures.
He is something else. He wasn't a real long body deer, but that sucker was a tank, though.
Yeah.
which it was early. Like I said, it was November 5th, so he wasn't really prime rutting yet. He was just pre-rutting. So, but he was a hoss, and anyway, I had some God moments talking about it and just enjoying it with him. Then I already knew that since he was that big, that I'm going to get some people to come help me, and one to help for the help, and two to have witnesses to know where I killed him and
Right.
all that stuff. And then I went up, I gutted him and field dressed him, and I didn't want anybody to know exactly where I was hunting at, so I drug for an hour, to get him away from the tree stand in the area. Then got up to her, and I'd made a mess. I was so tore up. I had my sleeves pulled up, and I had blood all over me and backpack and everything. And I got to her, and she said, "What you doing?" I said, "I got him." So because I knew it was one on camera, and she got all excited. So we went out and I called the biologist first to let him know. That way, to try to make sure that he was going to be at the checking station. And then called 3 of my buddies, and 2 of them was out hunting or scouting. They wasn't even hunting, is what's just kind of sad. We all should have been hunting, but they were out scouting on the opposite side, and got them to come help. And we took a big cart and went down. It took 2.5, 3 hours. Kathy come with me. She packed him some water, and she helped roll some, and we had 4 of us rolling. So it took 2.5 hours to get him out. So, but it was.
I don't doubt it.
Some good stories, talking, enjoying it with friends. That's part of it, is enjoying it with friends and family of something, an accomplishment like this, and something that just majestic, big old beast he was. Just it was neat. So everybody got to enjoy it. So
Sure is. Yeah, it's funny, we were talking about it earlier, but want everybody else to hear it. Me and you were actually friends on Facebook, and I had saw your post.
Yeah.
He had posted, big giant Alabama public land muzzleloader deer down, and I'm like, okay, I'm ready to see this.
yeah,
So then you post pictures of it, a couple hours later, and I'm like, oh my gosh, you wasn't lying. I mean, giant, that's almost an understatement. For here, I mean, that's a unicorn. That
it is. Actually,
190-something inch deer on public ground in Alabama that just don't happen very often.
yeah. When I killed the one with the bow, when I was coming out, I done the same thing. Some big buck down with the bow, Alabama. But this one I put monster.
Yeah, that's what it was, monster.
Okay, he was a dang monster.
You definitely got some folks excited, because I was excited.
Yeah.
I was checking Facebook. I was like, when's he gonna post a picture of this deer?
Well, where we're at, there's only a certain place you can get a text out,
Right.
and they're not going to get a picture out, so the picture couldn't come till later. But it was a good teaser, because he was a monster. I wasn't lying. It was he was a monster.
So you just told Miss Kathy that you were gonna meet her somewhere. She didn't even know that you had shot yet.
She heard me shoot.
Okay.
Yeah, so,
Cool. That's crazy.
yeah, she was
Well-
up on a higher ridge up about a half mile away. So
That's awesome. Well, if you don't mind, go into a little more detail of like past encounters with this deer. How'd you put the plan together, to go in after this deer and come out successful, especially on the first morning. I mean, that's awesome.
yeah, it was pretty amazing. I run trail cameras, say 4 or 5 in a general area, and I put them on pinch points, natural funnels and stuff like that. But whenever I put them out, so I run them year round, I don't mess with them much. So any kind of info that I use for cameras will be for next season. So,
Right.
like we checked the camera 3 days ago that I had it out since July that I hadn't checked. So, and it actually had a picture of him in the daylight, so
It works.
I only had one daylight picture of him and one nighttime picture of him this past year. It's October 17th at night, and it's September 20-something in the daytime. That's the only picture I had of him this year, and I didn't know it until after I killed him. So I didn't know if I was hoping he was alive. I was pretty sure, because I had a late picture of him the year before. But anyway, the first time I had pictures of him was in November 2 seasons ago, and he was similar frame, bunch of stickers, wasn't quite as massive, but if I'd have seen him, I probably would have shot him, because
Yeah.
these stickers and stuff is very unique and rare on Alabama, even on public land. So anyway, but in March, I had some more pictures come up from him. I checked cameras in June, July, I think. I checked them during the season, like say December, the last time I hunt. And I checked him again like during turkey season, and he'd come in with March with some other bucks that done shed their horns. He looked sick, skinny, just, still toting both his horns. I said, wow. And that was the year that I had the most pictures of him. So, and I was saying, well, next year I'm going to concentrate on him. So I hunted the next season. Hadn't checked any cameras of him. And I'm hoping, he's going to be good. I didn't kill a deer down there. Didn't see him. I've seen some does several times, but no big bucks and small bucks. Well, after season, I pulled the camera and I missed him by 1 day. 1 day after a gun hunt, he come by following does, probably the same group of does at 9 something in the morning. And he had the big frame, but he only had 1 or 2 of these splits. He didn't have all the sticker stuff, but he was big body. He done recovered good, and he was probably 160s, so close to 160 anyway. So
he made a big jump.
So he made a pretty good jump.
Yeah.
But he didn't have all the stickers. So I talked to a friend of mine that runs some cameras too. I said, that sucker, he might be 180 this year, so I'm going to make a plan. So I bought the crossbow, and I knew that what daylight pictures I had of him wasn't until November, and it was kind of early November, like the first week. So they usually have a muzzleloader hunt or something right around that time frame. So I'm not going down in that area until then. I'll hunt the outskirts of an area of a big buck that I know where he's at, or I'll find a different buck early season, close to bedding or close to where they're eating acorns or something. But where I run them cameras out on them pinch points, stuff like that, I'll wait on till the rut or pre-rut start to kick in before I start hunting them spots. So the first day I went down there this year, it just timed out perfect. Or he come by at 9:45. So I didn't get to take the crossbow to hunt him or anything like that. But it worked out fantastic. So I've only killed a couple of deer that I've had on camera like that.
Right. So how many total pictures did you have of that deer over the past couple of years?
No more than 10 pictures total. So.
That is so crazy.
And that was,
you take 10 pictures and you put together a plan and go in there and kill him in the first morning.
And most of the pictures were the 2 seasons ago.
Right.
Last season only had like 2 different times, 2 pictures.
That's amazing.
But and it was kind of the area he was using. I kind of knew about what I was thinking he was doing. He felt comfortable in it to be daylight in that time. So I was just hoping that's because that area they got a pretty good range. So if they're checking doe groups out, it might take them a week or so to get back around you. It's kind of a timing thing, and hopefully it's daylight. And hopefully they're coming by you. So it's hard to catch them on the trail for me. But it's easier. Well, I don't know if to say easy, but I have better luck seeing deer off these natural travel corridors and stuff like that. I don't pressure bedding areas, and I don't pressure food source. I try to catch them in between it. So,
right.
I'm always afraid if I get too close to a bedding area in the morning or a feeding area in the morning and it's dark, you won't know it. You run them out, and then you'll hunt somewhere 4 or 5 days. They already know you're there. So
they're gone. They done switched up.
I try to get between the areas somehow or another, and then in the evenings I will try to hunt closer to a bedding area, but I'm lower below a big top or something like that where I feel that they're going to come down.
Right.
So where I've seen tracks where they come off from a bedding area or something like that. So.
Right. So tell us a little bit about your journal. I think that's pretty interesting, and
I've been doing. Used to I had calendars. I'd have a calendar and I'd fill out all the hunts. All the
like one of the big calendars.
Big calendar.
Yeah.
I'd write down all the gun hunts gonna be, and then every time I hunted, whatever I've seen and where the weather was, I'd write on the calendar. Well, then my wife got this journal for me, and she probably had it 15 years or so, I guess now. So I transferred all that calendar data to it. It goes back all the way to the first day is.
That's the year I was born.
I got 1988 through 94 combined on one page.
Okay.
So then after that, it's every
pretty
season,
detailed
every
after
season
that, huh?
detail. So you can see where I keep up with everything I've seen, what manner I was hunting, what day, what I seen, what time, if I killed something, what time, how many deer, keeping up with her stuff, my brother's stuff, my dad's stuff, and then if I had an awesome fishing day or something, I got a Gunnerville day in here, like April 14th or something one day. We
Get back on the boat that day.
We wore them out one day, and then some turkey stuff, and then
Right.
all my out-of-state stuff, bear hunting or whatever. I keep everything in here, and I can go back and look and see when things were happening at certain times, and refresh my memory. And then trail camera stuff, I keep all my bigger bucks saved on my computer and go back looking at them dates and times and
Make notes of when they came through.
Yeah, and just correlate all of that and to help make a plan. Because a lot of people think it's kind of weird, but 90% of the time when it comes before season, I know where I'm going to be at and what I'm going to do, and I stick with that plan, whether it's successful or not. And I'm confident that something could happen, whether it happens or not, and I don't try not to deviate with it. A lot of people do a lot of in-season scouting, and that's fine. That's what you're comfortable with, and it works for a lot of people. But I kind of have a different plan that I do, and I'll stick with it with me and my wife, and that's generally what we do. And
Obviously, it's working. It's working. So
it's hard for me to deviate now. So
no kidding.
So,
No kidding.
Yeah, it's worked out. Like the big one with the bow, I didn't have pictures of him. A guy sent me pictures of him from like 4 miles away, but the area where I was hunting at during a certain time of the year, bucks come through there chasing does, following does, and looking for does, and I knew what, when I needed to be down there, and I killed him like that. He come by chasing, he was hot on that doe's tail at 7-something in the morning.
Right.
And killed him, but then the one with the gun that I killed, I didn't even have trail cameras then, so I didn't even know about him. But that's the biggest one. I've killed 2 other ones that I had on camera. So
that's such a cool story. You had less than 10 pictures of the deer, and you formulated a plan together to go in there and get it done, and you did it. It's impressive. I mean, hell, this is impressive itself.
I appreciate it.
You done some pretty cool stuff. So speaking of that, what you got planned for the next year or so? You got anything cool planned out?
I don't have anything out of state or anything planned right now. Just we're doing some scouting right now. We scouted yesterday and trying to find some sheds. I think we did find a big old buck bed, and some droppings were big. It's a big body, big old butterbean bed. He was bedded up against a pine tree below a bluff, and watching like a valley. It was pretty cool to stand there and just think of what this dude's watching right now. But he'd been there a couple of times, it looked like, and so that's one to think about for next year. So
yeah,
don't know what it is, but it's a big body deer. So
right.
And we've been trying to find some sheds, but they've been holding their sheds a little bit late. We pulled that camera card, like I say, and it has some just a few days ago that had come through, and they still had their horns. So
you got any targets from next year? I mean, you pulled a card.
Maybe.
And you hunt multiple public grounds, so it ain't just one here, so maybe. We'll go with that.
I go with maybe.
We'll go with maybe.
I generally have something that's, pretty exciting to hunt, but you don't, like I say, there's only a few of them that I've killed that I've had on camera, but they're in the area, so like I say, I got 2 main areas that we hunt. We hunt black warrior and oak mogi, so then I went to Sam Murphy this year, first time in a few years. So we try to hit 4 or 5 different management areas. We've killed deer off of a bunch of different management areas in Alabama. Not all big ones, but with 4 areas. So we've killed good bucks off of Wolf Creek, Sam Murphy, Oak Mogi, Black Warrior. So I think that's it. But I've killed one on Coosa, smaller deer on Coosa. Wheeler Wildlife Refuge, a bunch of different public land. We try to spread the love and to chase the rut to an extent. So,
right.
So Black Warrior first, and then Oak Mogi around Christmas and stuff, and then after that, Sam Murphy, or no, it's actually further north. Freedom Hills is farther north. They have a January to February rut.
Okay.
So
yeah, it's almost like this western, it's like a bubble over here.
Yeah.
It's like a bubble on the side of the state. It's like they start early there and everything else kind of follows.
Yeah. So Freedom Hills is a little bit higher. It's close to the river, and on the south side, Colbert County.
Okay.
They got a bunch of deer and some good ones. They don't really have the genetics they do, but they have a pretty good rut going on. So
right.
They had the CWD stuff this year, so they had an extended hunt. So. And I think they killed quite a bit, but not. I think it was still a little bit lower than last year. Some people was kind of worried about having an open season on. They might kill too many, but there's too many cutovers. You can't kill them. As soon as that, a pressured deer is a whole different animal. You know, so they feel some pressure, they'll go nocturnal and get
That's
them
right.
cutovers if they can, or thick stuff, and you don't, unless you jump them out or run them out, they ain't coming out.
Right.
Daylight, so
That's how a lot of these deer get like this.
yeah.
They I mean that's what baffles me is the fact that you had less than 10 pictures of that deer and got it done. I mean, but I guess when you're taking notes like this, and you know, I feel like historically deer somewhat do the same thing. Obviously, I mean that's
They find their comfort zones and their comfort areas, and they know where to go to get away from people, and or where they can see people coming or whatever. And this year and it happens, you know, every now and then. They killed some big deer this year at Black Warrior, but the movement this year was less because there were so many acorns that the deer didn't have to travel far. So
spread out.
they were in the little spots, little pockets, and a buck could get up before the rut and just walk 5 feet and get all the food he wanted to lay back down, and he didn't have to go anywhere. So I didn't have as much activity on camera as I did this year as the year before because they didn't have to go nowhere to eat. And there wasn't as many people hunting this year versus the year before with all the COVID stuff. Quite a bit of people was hunting. So, a friend of mine that's real successful, he's seen some deer, but he didn't see the movement like we've been seeing because of the acorns. That makes a big difference. You got a lot of that big massive acorn crops. It's kind of rougher, especially on the big woods hunting. So
Right.
I prefer it to be kind of spotty. They move more, and you can find, you know, certain trees that's dropping where the other ones ain't, and kind of pinpoint a little bit. So, but yeah, they're a tough animal. The big boys, mature ones, is very unique in how they travel and how they use edges and stuff like that. Because, like I say, if I hadn't turned around when I seen whatever, another 5-10 foot, he would probably been where I couldn't shoot. So.
Really?
So as soon as I shot him, and one his tail and he hopped, he was out of sight because it was so green. So, and that's at 45 yards. So
really,
yeah. So past that, he was out of sight. So
do you typically see mature deer using the same areas as you know, over the years? You're obviously hunting some of the same ground.
yeah.
Do you typically see that?
They'll, like, you kill a big buck, generally a big buck will be in the same place, or if it's like a turkey, you know, if you're turkey hunting a big dominant gobbler, he'll kind of keep the other ones knocked down. They're still in the area, they're being quiet because they don't want him to know where they're at so they can whoop them. So, and I feel the big bucks will do the same way. They'll be grouped up to an extent, you know, early.
Right.
And I kind of think sometimes the monster ones stay by themselves, but this guy, he had, like I say, he had one little 7-point that was a pretty good sized body that was hanging out. He's using as a decoy because most people probably would have shot him first.
Right.
So,
It ain't his first rodeo, was it?
And then when the camera card that I pulled the other day, he was with that same deer.
Really?
Yeah.
That is cool.
It was funny because he was in front of him this time. He was walking in front of the 7-point, but I guess he knew it before season. He'd have him tricked up. So now you walk front. So,
That's right.
So, but anyway, it was pretty neat.
He walked across the wrong hunter though. That's the only issue.
Yeah. I was I guess you could say, kind of lucky I was in the right spot, but I didn't know that he was in the area, so I can, you know, kind of take credit, I guess, because I knew he was there. And I was hoping he was going to be back through there. So
I mean, that's a story, man. That's impressive. Shoot, pick him up and let's show him off a little bit.
Yeah, he has 11 points on this side. You know, when I done the game check on him, I only counted 14. So when I got to the checking station, they got 19. There's one that was, you know, close. So.
Right.
But he has 11 on this side, 7 on this side, and then he's got stickers. He's got little kicker things everywhere. He's got a little curly cue come down. So this one was broke off in 2 places. He's got a broke tip right here. So he's got this hand.
Yeah, it does look like a little hand on it.
That one I didn't really know was a point until.
So that's a separate point?
That's a point right there. Steve Lucas scored him for the Buckmasters, and he called this as the mother that's down here, then that was the daughter as a point. So, but it's very unique, you know. So to have his flyers and the splits. So you got some stickers in the back. That one counted. So this one in the front counted. So, and you was talking about deer in the same areas. I got a shed over in there from 20-something years ago in the same kind of area that's that has this sticker.
Really?
Yeah. And it kind of got the same frame, but it's eat up because it was so old when I
Right.
found it. But it's got the same style of antler, and it's just unique that the genetics are kind of in that area. So,
Right.
but I only have, that's the only one that I've had on camera that I've killed that over the 20-something, 30 years I've been hunting there. So, and it's just amazing.
It sure is.
His only, his only downfall was not a downfall, is a 15 1/4 inch inside spread. So,
Really?
but he's got everything else.
Oh.
Big frame, long beans, 14-inch G2s. He just, chocolate, just real stickerish, just an awesome buck. So
Oh, he's
just
beautiful.
heavy horns. So
Beautiful.
I'm very happy with him. So
195-inch deer that's 15 inches wide. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm not gonna complain.
I'm not complaining at all. So.
No, sir.
But he's something else, and we're gonna have a full body mount done of him. So it'll be real impressive. So
Yeah, hopefully we can get y'all down to Montgomery in August. That would be cool to
that would be.
have him displayed. I know it'll be a little tough getting a full body mount down there, but
you haul that down. So.
maybe we can talk you into it,
We
because
might do
he would look good at the show.
So, he is awesome. So
Well, man, we appreciate it. Thank you for taking time with us and telling that story. I know I've learned a couple things from you, and I know there's plenty of folks out there that can take a lot from that conversation and use that in their everyday hunting life. So, I mean,
so my big
what a
tip
story.
is like right now, you need to be scouting right now.
Right.
Postseason scouting, I do a lot of plans off of postseason scouting. And then when it comes to hunting season, don't put any pressure on until the right time, as far as if you put it on too early, you can't recover from that.
Right.
And once you spook them, they're going to change something. They'll change the way they move or go nocturnal completely, so it makes it tough.
So do you think right now is the time when these deer are kind of transitioning back into their summer
home
patterns?
ranges,
Yeah.
back to their home range.
So that's how you learn a lot about them for early season hunting, even though it's February.
Well, there's
March.
no leaves on the trees. All the trails, the distinguished trails are so visible. Droppings are easier to find. Tracks are easier to find. You can find all the old scrapes, rubs, kind of tell what they were doing in the whole rut and stuff. And then you can actually take your, say, topos. I use Onyx, and then you can look at Onyx while you're finding these tracks and trails and scrapes and all that, and look at different features, terrain features and stuff, and then look at the trees yourself while you're on the ground where the pines are at, because then you can distinguish, because there are no leaves on the hardwoods. You can see different shaded edges,
Right.
and check them out and find trails in the edges and stuff like that. So now's the time to find all that stuff and start making your plans. You can find, like I say, I found a big old bed the other day, so I know that's his home area.
Making me want to go strap the boots on.
So,
Let's go put some miles in.
so if you find them now, they're going to be within I might say a half mile to a mile when we come hunting season most times. You
Right.
find where the does are kind of been hanging out at too, so that gives y'all something to do. But we hunt basically in like a 1.5 to 2 mile square area, so
Right.
that we concentrate on try to learn every inch of it. But you'll see every year you break down a different part of it and concentrate up, and you'll learn all the different features and stuff like that, and it makes it, make you plan out a little bit better for the season. So that would be my suggestion. Right now is when you need to be doing as much scouting as you can, and then if you want to, and then pre-season or early season, you just do spot checks. So make sure the acorns are going to be how you want them to be, and
Right.
If there's food plots around, whatever, check on what their status is. So
Basically, real-time info from the year prior, use that, and less pressure.
Yep.
That's what you preach,
I
huh?
try to let them stay comfortable.
Right.
So you want them to be comfortable before you can shoot them. So
Well, very cool, man. Mr. Mike, we appreciate it.
appreciate y'all coming.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's been a pleasure. This place is, again, very, very impressive. What you've got in here. So, but that's gonna be it for this week's outdoor podcast. We appreciate y'all joining us. Make sure you go check out Mr. Mike's Facebook and Instagram, and go check out his stuff. And we appreciate y'all listening, and y'all have a good evening.
Thank y'all. Have a good one.